Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity Podcast, episode 217. We are joined by a very special guest today, a returning guest who I'll introduce you to in a minute. But first of all, I'm just going to touch base with my usual co-host, Mr. Peter Lant, who is in Bath. How are you doing, Pete? You okay?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. How are you? Nobody ever asks how you are, do they?
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah.
Excellent.
And have you been out walking already today?
Yeah, it's lush out there today. I think it's going to be lush all weekend as well. So it's great.
Yeah. No,
And yesterday I managed to get a longer one in as well because we're not doing the Wednesday evening walks anymore because it's dark. So so I get to go out earlier in the day as well. I don't have to hang around waiting for the evening walk. So it's great.
excellent. And I saw that you caught up in person with a friend of the show,
With Gary as well, yeah.
Disabled strongman Gary. You caught up with him in Bath as well, didn't you?
Yeah, he was doing the Gary Road show. He was meeting somebody called Olivia as well later on, like after he met me as well. So, he was on tour.
He managed to squeeze you in though, did he?
Yeah, oh yeah, just about, yeah.
Good.
I watched him drink 2 hot chocolates and eat some carrot cake. It was great.
Brilliant. Now
it was a big weekend this weekend just gone as well, wasn't it? For another friend of the show,
Lucy Underdown. Yeah. So Lucy, so Alex Nicole Bennett, friend of the show, and Strongfirst instructor as well. Alex and her husband Julian were out in Las Vegas for the Giants Live World Deadlift Championships out there. And yeah, Lucy Underdown pulled a new women's world record of 325 kilos in the deadlift, no deadlift suit or anything. So incredible. So she beat her own world record by about 7.5 kilos. So no, that was great. That was a busy weekend out there. So, and I saw she got engaged as well while she was out there, didn't she?
She did as well. Yeah. So it was all happening.
It's a big weekend. No, which was great. And we are joined by another strong woman today, actually, who's been on the podcast once before. But we are joined by Claire Booth. Hi, how are you doing, Claire? You okay?
I'm good, gentlemen. Good to see you. So how are you?
We are very good. I was just gonna say that last time I was looking back, you were on the podcast episode 33. Now this is episode 217. So I did the maths even. And it was 3.5 years ago that you were on last time. And I will say to everybody, if you've not gone back and listened from the start, then I would go back and listen to episode 33. That was called From Bodybuilder to Strength Builder. And that was the first one that we did with Claire. And we're not going to go right back over kind of Claire's kind of origin story and where she started from and all the rest of it again. But that was a really good episode. That was episode 33. So if you want to go back and listen to that one again, because we're going to kind of catch up with Claire kind of as in where she is today, what she's doing now. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see Claire. She is in incredible shape at the moment, I have to say. And she said she feels better now than she did when she was on last time. And she looks fantastic. So, yeah, Claire is obviously regularly training. She really does. She's someone who, she's a mentor of mine. She's been on the show before. I've known Claire for many years. And she's someone who really does, talk the talk and walk the walk with regards to training, nutrition, and, practicing what she preaches. So we're going to touch base and we're going to catch up with Claire today. So Claire, you're joining us from you're kind of northeast England, aren't you? Where are you exactly, or am I right?
You'll be lost anything north of the Watford Gap. You guys are just not.
Yeah. Whoa! I know where the northeast is. This man doesn't.
Yeah, well, this is true. He will get lost. In fact, you have actually visited me here.
I did. I actually drove up to your house and back in one day, and it was during lockdown. I think it was like I drove up and I picked up about 30 or 40 kettlebells. And I drove all the way up, which was about 4 or 5 hours, literally loaded the car up or the truck up, turned around and drove back. But where is it? It's near Whitby, isn't it? Is that right?
No, not. I'm on the East Coast. So, yeah. So
where's Whitby? Where's Whitby?
So no, I'm between I'm sort of like near Cleethorpes and Louth, so I'm a small rural village, so where I just wander down the road and buy eggs off the side of the road and things like that. So very, very rural. So, and I'm very lucky that I've got wonderful people in the village and a local farm shop and organic meats and stuff. So I'm very lucky on that.
Excellent, excellent. So at the moment, Claire, I know this podcast, if you're listening on the day of release, it is the 25th of October. Okay, so I know many people do listen the day this comes out. It's the 25th of October. So we're going to kind of talk, because obviously this weekend, tomorrow, today is the SFG one, isn't it? In up in Lilleshall.
We've got the, yes, it will be, yes.
Today.
Today,
Yeah.
we're doing it today.
You better get going.
We'll get there.
Yeah, so you've got loads coming up. I mean, obviously, so Claire is, a Strongfirst Senior and Elite Instructor. Claire also heads up, Strongfirst GB as well, is, organizes all of the kind of workshops for Strongfirst and the certifications that happen over here. So this kind of time of year is a busy time of year for you, isn't it, Claire? I think.
Yeah, I love it. It's sometimes getting stuff together. It can be, and getting people where they need to be can occasionally be like herding cats, but I love it. It is just those weekends spent with you guys and sort of like everybody, strong people, everybody wanting to learn off each other. It's just a weekend of strength, and it's our little Strongfirst GB bubble is like what I like to think of it as.
It's really nice. Harry messaged me yesterday. Is it Harry? Is it Harry Westgate? Am I right? Yeah, Harry messaged me yesterday and said, "Oh, he's assisting this year," and said, "I know you've done it a number of times before. How did you find it? All the rest of it. I know there's a number of people, obviously, that we all know going to be there. They've put the TSC on the same weekend as the." I know it's kind of separated now from Strongfirst, but yeah, it's kind of runs alongside, but not really ran by. So yeah, we're hosting the TSC on the 26th of October at my place. But no, that's going to be great. And you're also, in a couple of weeks' time, you're going to be at Unique Results doing Simple and Sinister kettlebell workshop as well. And I know you've been traveling around various. I think you've been to Bristol. You may have been to Quentin's already, or that's coming up, where you're doing workshops and things. Yeah.
I travel all over the country, so if anybody wants any workshops putting on, just give me a shout. So shameless plug there.
No, that's great. So yeah, so in terms of your own training, like I said, you seem to you look like you've been working on some hypertrophy or muscle growth, or something. You're looking good, kind of, not, obviously you're not bodybuilding in the way that you bodybuilded in your youth when you were competing and things, but you certainly look to have a more, I don't want to say a bodybuilding physique, but you've certainly kind of, you look like you're carrying muscle in the right places that you want to carry muscle, and you're looking strong. What have you been doing yourself for training recently? What does your training look like for the last sort of 3 to 6 months?
Well, I think the first thing, but thank you for your kind words, and I'm glad that the work is paying off. I think I think I was getting sort of like 3.5 years ago, I was perimenopausal and hadn't really realized it, even though knowing what I know I should do. And so I've gone on to HRT, which has been it's been a rocky road getting the right balance, and I've had to adjust it. And I think ladies think it is a one size fits all. You go to your GP, you get 10 minutes with them, and you get the right dosage, and it is not like that. So we can cover that a little bit more. But I've now got the balance, and it's probably taken me 2.5, 3 years to get that right. And I've recently, I think probably 8 weeks ago, just upped my estrogen load, and that's really, really helped as well. And I think sort of mentally, I'm in a much stronger position. I've got the protein, which I've always eaten protein. You've seen me eat protein. Yeah. I can get through a fair few steaks and stuff like that. So my protein is, and what I always say to every lady is who comes to me, I look at their nutrition. Whether you're coming for weight loss, muscle gain, anything, nutrition is huge. So I'm always very aware of my diet, but my training, I focused in 4 weeks blocks. So I do high rep, and lowish weights. And I hate high reps, as everybody knows. Anything more than 5 reps is cardio. So I've been doing cardio. So no, so I'm hitting all that, and then after another 4 weeks, then I really go heavy, but low reps and no more than 4. Then after that, I go to so the high reps are around 15 to 20. Then I drop down to about 12 to 16. And then I see where I am at the end of that. So, and they're all variations of deadlift, squat, bench press, dumbbell press, sort of military press and things. So I just vary it like that, and that seems to really pay dividends. And I only train on weights 3 times a week, a full weight session, and never anything more than 40 minutes because I'm lazy. Everybody knows I'm lazy.
Because what I'm seeing a lot recently is there's seems to be much more of a move now towards when I see people like Mike Israel and lots of people are saying that really for hypertrophy, for muscle growth and development, really anything from kind of 5 up to 30 reps, you know, and it's more about the intensity that you train with. So it's not really about so much the absolute load. It's about that kind of training to a proximity of failure, or where sets are hard, but you can manage them. You're not necessarily failing, but really anything from 5 reps up to about 30 reps, if done properly with good technique and good control and all the rest of it, it is kind of beneficial. So it's interesting that you've been doing these kind of maybe some weeks where you've been working on maybe, like you say, 15 reps, 20 reps per set. Yeah, that's really interesting, and that's obviously been working for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the sort of the mistakes that I see, sort of like, you know, I've been what we look at now when you think about when I first started off, making me sound really old now, aren't I? But again, yeah, I'm coming up 53. So the first time I stepped into a gym, I was 19 years of age. And there was very few women. In fact, the gyms that I went to, there was never any women in there. Many times I was the only woman, which is actually, I suppose, quite intimidating. For some women, I'm there to train. I didn't really care. And I think a lot of the mistakes ladies do now is they go to the gym, but they haven't got a plan. They're just mindlessly, well, I'll do a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of the other, and they don't know what they've done. They're not knowing what they're doing. They just do what they feel like. And as we know, often we need to be working at what we don't really want to work on. Squats, I hate them, but I do them.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? And that's one of the things I wanted to kind of talk to you about today, really, was the if there, because everyone's going to be slightly different, and we well, there's two main things I want to kind of try and, I suppose, 2 main topics really, or points of conversation. Is obviously Strongfirst kind of concentrates on 3 main modalities of training: bodyweight training, kettlebells, and barbell, which is covered by the 3 main certifications that they do. And it was kind of how you maybe manage or juggle or rotate, you know, using some of each of those 3, and if you do, or if you go through phases where you use one more than the other. And then the other thing was, for a lot of the people who listen to us are going to be women in their, you know, 40s and 50s and beyond, and it's kind of, if there is a kind of some frameworks or recommendations that you'd give to women, say if we said, you know, in their 40s or 50s, regarding strength training, because I think the kind of the message is out there now, and is getting out there more and more, about the importance of strength training for muscle density, for bone density, for health, for, you know, for everything, for posture, for metabolism, for everything really. So I think the message is out there, but like you say, still there's a lot of conflicting information, and some people just think, well, I need to do some weights, so I'll go in and I just kind of see what's free, and I kind of do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So if there was some kind of protocol or structure that you would recommend, so I suppose first of all, across the 3, you are a Strongfirst Elite Instructor. So you have done all three modalities. Do you favor one over the other, and how do you kind of mesh the three together, or do you mesh the three together, or do you do them at different times?
I tend to, my favorite is the barbell, which is where I came from anyway, was a barbell background. Yeah, I'm not a strong woman. I'm strong enough for what I need. So my priority will always probably be around the barbell, but I do use kettlebells quite a lot as well. And body weight, I tend to focus more on the pull-ups and things, but I'm very fortunate that I can maintain the standards without too much difficulty. So I can hit the lift. So if I'm teaching at a certification, I always test my own skills, but I get somebody to do them. I don't, because you're always going to be biased to yourself anyway. So I always make sure I feel a fake if I can't turn up and do, if I need to be snatch test ready as well. The body weight was always a modality that I found really, really challenging. And I passed my first body weight in 2014. I think that was with Doug Neppadal, going back a long time. So that was, and I found the body weight skills the most challenging, yet I found the body weight stuff having the bigger carryover. Without doing anything else, my deadlift went up to a lifetime personal best. And yeah, you've got to bear in mind, I'm not a power lifter or anything like that, and I'm not particularly strong. And my press went up, so I pressed 24 easily on both sides, no problem. And again, compared to some of the girls, not that impressive.
No, but your body weight though, Claire, I mean, this is the thing. If we talk about, we obviously can talk about absolute strength and relative strength, but you know, your relative strength to your body weight, because your body weight is relatively low and you're not a tall, big lady, you know what I mean? So relative strength is high, isn't it? I think for you.
I mean, when I tested those, I was only 59 kilos body weight, so I'm probably a little bit heavier at the minute, but but now I'm getting, my body fat is now coming down with getting the hormones in balance as well. So yeah, and I think the value of, I think all the modalities work brilliantly together. And if I was saying to anybody which certification, knowing now what I do, what would I think the first one I would go for would actually be the body weight. I think it carries over to everything so well. Whereas I came from the kettlebell, and I think that's where you came to Strongfirst, wasn't it? And so same with you, wasn't it, Pete? When you
mine was 10 years ago, November 2014. It was.
Wow,
my first one.
We've known each other that long.
that was Fabio and Dave Whitley at the time. It was the
was it at Harlow?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Harlow Leisure Dome, or whatever it's called. Yeah,
the Leisure Dome.
Well, it's called something like that, isn't it?
Sounds like Mad Max.
Maybe I'm getting confused with Mad Max 3. Yeah.
Yeah, Tina Turner was on in the background.
Times have changed.
Because I've heard quite a few people say that actually. I think that the body weight certification, because it teaches you that whole body tension, and then you can, if you can master that, then you can more easily transfer that to kettlebell and barbell and that sort of thing. No, that's great. Because Pete's obviously Pete is still, I mean, myself and Pete still regularly do pull-ups, and Pete does a lot of pistols and stuff as well still. Obviously we'll be hosting the SFB next May, so I need to brush up my one arm one leg push up. That's the thing to recertify. So you used to do one of them a week, didn't you, Pete, to maintain them? Have you done any recently?
Yeah. I've kind of been doing assisted ones as part of my program for a while, but I haven't done like an actual full one for ages. I was going to say though, because if I wanted to, I'd just have to wait a few years, and then I only have to do a one-arm push-up. in 2 years' time, so that's all right. I can do that, no problem.
Wait till you get to my age.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be 50 in 2 years, so that's sorted.
Because now I remember, Pete, you used to say, I just do one arm, one leg push up a week. And you used to do it on your walks, didn't you? And you said, as long as I do that once a week, I know I can do it. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
It's pistols that I find the most challenging. I'm not built to squat, I'm built to deadlift. And we're all built to squat, but what I would say it's not my best lift. But what I do when sort of we're doing the SFG one, and I will go through all my skills, and I will get it looked over by one of the instructors. Same when I do the level 2, same with barbell. And the body weight. So if I'm coming up to the body weight, sort of especially because that's my modality that I find the most challenging, I will really spend probably a couple of months every day doing one of the skills. This time I'm determined I'm going to be able to do a handstand push-up for 5 reps. That's my thing that I'm working on. So you've heard it here.
I've heard it. And who is it? Who is it? Is it Pavel Macek going to be doing next year?
Yeah. So Pavel Macek's coming over for obviously the SFG one. I just had a chat with him earlier, and then he's here for the SFB as well. So brilliant. Yeah, and he's brilliant at the body weight. Well, he's brilliant at all of it, but the body weight, just seeing the ease that he does it.
It's interesting though, because he's basically a little guy, isn't he? And he weighs like 68 kilos or something.
Yeah.
So. Because I had that when I did the SFB, it was like, it was Daniel he was like, you're built to do. He was like, you're a natural at this, but I'm like, I don't weigh much and I'm only little and I've got short limbs. So it's like, well, for a pistol squat, I only have to go about that far. Pull-ups only have to go very far. But it was like with Sven, so friend of the show, Sven, who's just lifted the Diddy stones 3 times in a day, just this past week, yesterday, in fact, wasn't it? Yeah. But I remember Fabio had to train him to do the one-on-one-legged push-up because he just couldn't do it, could he? Because he's huge. He's super strong, but that was his nemesis, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it's like, sort of like with Sven as well. If I could go back to his age and learn from the people that he's learned on, oh my God. Yeah, I just think what could I have achieved with the right training? Don't get me wrong, I did very well in what I did, but I think what he's got is the knowledge and the access to all these wonderful coaches. And I just think, so what that would be what I would tell any young athlete, anybody coming into it, make sure you choose your coaches well. And he's sort of like looking at what he's achieved already and his physique. I mean, he looks and he's awesome, but he's strong as well.
And he's also called Sven, which is just a massive bloke's name, isn't it? Do you know any little Svens?
Did you ask him about Lufthansa?
No.
Yeah, we have an angry German, Lufthansa.
Oh, okay.
It's just a private joke between us all.
Okay. Yeah, no, he's done great. Yeah, so him and Ben, again, Ben Bradbury were up in Scotland, or are probably still up in Scotland. I think, in fact, Ben was heading back today, I think I saw. But yeah, doing some lifting and stuff. And obviously a few weeks back, we had, what episode? This is episode 217.
214.
214. Yeah, we had Stevie.
Yeah. Because I've literally just done it this morning.
You've just done it. So Stevie doing all the stuff about the Scottish lifting stones and things, which was fantastic. No, that was really great. So because I shared something. You mentioned, Claire, when we spoke about the first thing you mentioned when I said about training was you mentioned getting the HRT right, getting the hormones right, and nutrition. So it's almost like you put that before the training, and I shared something yesterday. I listened to one of Dan John's podcasts, and he said shopping and chopping are your most important workout of the week in terms of that food, the way your shopping habits, and then your food preparation habits, and whether your kind of goal is fat loss or strength or hypertrophy and getting bigger. Really, the diet and the lifestyle outside of training is more important, arguably, than the actual what you do training. So in terms of your you mentioned as well, like the where you live in the countryside, you've got like access to, you know, fresh fruit and vegetables and local, you know, butchers and things like that. So what does diet look like for you? Because I know that you, because of some, you know, things around migraine and stuff, you kind of eat quite differently, but you focus very much on kind of fresh, whole ingredient, you know, high protein, all the rest of it. So what's your diet like?
I'm still, I sort of wandered off a little bit from ketogenic, and I just went low carb. So a lot of people really don't get what ketogenic is. So mine was a well formulated ketogenic diet, and I'd put a lot more vegetables in and more colourful vegetables. And the migraines did actually start to come back a little bit, and it was like, and I was thinking, when did you get them under control? And it was a ketogenic diet, but I was still getting about 100 grams of protein at the time as well, and a more fatty diet. Now, I tried a little bit of carnivore as well. Oh my God, I could not stop eating. Everybody goes, it really fills you up. Carnivore, no, it doesn't. This girl could eat. For me, and I wouldn't advocate it for everybody, but it controls the migraines. And I mean, I think I've probably touched on the last podcast we did. I was getting something like, on a bad month, 9 migraines. And I'm like, yeah, I need to get these under control. And I read an article, Dominic D'Agostino, and rest is history, went ketogenic, researched it, got my electrolytes right. And then I came a little bit more, got a bit more relaxed on it, and then the migraines started again, and not as bad as what they were, but they still were quite debilitating. So I've gone back pretty much ketogenic, and that really, really works for me. And you probably you will have remembered, James, how bad my skin was, because with the menopause, perimenopause, I got the most horrendous rosacea. I'll send you a photo if you want to share it. It is, I mean, I look like I've been scolded, and I got rid of most of it with the HRT, keeping a really good diet, apple cider vinegar in the morning, blah, 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 and the electrolytes, and it still wasn't right. It was better. So as I said, I've upped my estrogen a little bit, and also red light therapy. That has been a game changer.
Okay, maybe we could talk about that, because it's something that I hear a lot talked about on other podcasts, and a lot of the kind of American podcasts that I listen to, things like you know, maybe Mark Bell's Power Project, things like Brad Kearns,
Huberman was on about it as well. He was
things like Huberman, you know, Lex Friedman, all those kind of guys. There's a lot of talk about red light therapy. So what have you been? How did you get introduced to it, and what do you do for that?
So I think it was actually, could have even been Huberman, and I do a lot of reading, a lot of research, and it was, I was thinking, well, my skin is pretty horrendous, and even though it was a lot better than it was. I mean, at the point when it was really bad, my eyes were really, really puffy, and I actually looked like I was a heavy drinker, I think. Like all this redness and all these really raised lumps. And like I say, that cleared up. But I would say, and then I looked into it, and the research looked pretty good. And I thought, well, I wouldn't advise it to anybody else unless I've tried it myself. So I ordered myself a red light lamp with all the, you've got to have certain numbers. Don't ask me what the numbers are, but it's the right type. And so in the evening, I do 20 minutes. So take all my makeup off. But luckily now I'm only wearing a tinted moisturizer. And I remove all that. And before I put anything else on, I do the 20 minutes, and I do the same in the morning, especially now because we're not getting the morning light, are we? So, and I have to say, I feel really, really good on it. That's really, but my skin is, you know, if I'm really picky, which as a female we are, it's definitely, I'm not seeing in the light loads of lumps on my skin, which I'm quite happy about, because I never suffered with my skin in my younger years, and it's a thing that they don't tell us in puberty. You think puberty is hard? Wait till you get to perimenopause. You don't know nothing.
And what is the benefits of, or the you know, the reported benefits of the red light therapy? Like, when will, because I hear a lot of people, they you know, they have these kind of lights that they sit in front of.
Yeah.
And obviously I hear a lot now about I know it's a separate thing, but a lot of people have these, you know, sauna blankets and things that they use as well, which is different again. But it's like we say, don't we, Pete? The old Huberman morning routine that takes about 4 hours, because you have to do your ice bath, your sauna blanket, your red light therapy, you know, exposing to the sun, the walk, the training, you know, all the stuff.
Cold plunge.
Cold plunge. So what's the sort of purported benefits of the red light therapy? Is it predominantly for skin, or is it for, what was it for?
I think it's like I've used it on my hands as well, because I was getting quite bad arthritis, and so my joints are swollen, so I'm on collagen as well, collagen and vitamin C, and it's supposed to improve the absorption and the production of collagen in the skin. And and again, whatever it purports that it's going to do, I'm always a little bit skeptical till I've tried it myself. And I have to say, you know, it's not an instant fix, but I'm consistent in doing it, and it's definitely worked. And I mean, it's like you do the cold plunge and stuff like that, don't you?
Yeah.
No,
you don't.
no. I do a cold shower. I do a cold blast at the end, and I know it's supposed to be 30 seconds, 10 seconds. I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
No, but what you mentioned there, the consistent thing, because I think a lot of people, whether it be training, whether it be some kind of dietary change, whether it be some kind of, like we said, you know, sauna, cold plunge, red light therapy, whatever it is, people read about these things or hear about these things on a podcast, and they try it for a week or two, or maybe most people probably don't even try it for a week or two. They might try it for a couple of days, and then they say, oh, that didn't work for me, or, you know, that wasn't right. And you really have, whatever you're doing, you have to be consistent. And you mentioned obviously the HRT as well, with, you know, doing it and then gradually having to kind of tweak things and change things, and until you got it right, probably took you quite a few months, it sounds like.
I think as well, what we don't do, and it's male and female, but obviously when we're talking about the cycle, female, they don't track, they have no idea how they feel. And, you know, so I track everything. I can tell you pretty much when I last had a migraine. If I went in my phone, everything's tracked. And I think if you don't know where you are, how do you know where you're going or what you're going to change? You know, I'm very much, I'm not saying you have to track your food consistently, but I can guarantee every female that I've trained massively overestimates how much protein they have, and massively underestimates how many calories they're eating. Those are the big things. And that's the thing, you've got to be consistent. It's the same with your weight training. Doing something is better than absolutely doing nothing. And I think sort of like in the time of social media, and I mean, I was very lucky that I didn't have to go through all the bodybuilding stuff and that, and the time of the selfies and the filters and stuff like that. We didn't have filters, you know. It was in the magazine. That's what you look like, and that's what you are. And I think nowadays as well, we're so hung up on how we look, and the getting the plumping, the whatever filler, Botox, and whatever else happens, and threading and stuff like that. But they're not looking at what's they're putting in here, and they're not looking at what's going on in here. And you can do whatever you want on the external, but it's not going to sort this out. If you're having a high sugar, high processed diet, the glycation of the skin, the damage to the collagen, the damage to the elastin, the vitamin C. And when we're having young girls that are at the most beautiful time of their life in their 20s, having the need to do aesthetic stuff, I'm just thinking, you are beautiful as you are. Why are you doing that to you? Yeah, I probably could do with a bit of a nip and tuck myself now, but you know, I'm coming up 53. You know, it's like
No,
it's interesting this though, because Sean is oh, she doesn't mind me saying this now, she won't. But like, you know, Sean's at that age, right? So she hurt her neck last year. She hit her head off the mantelpiece. And she thought she'd done loads of damage, and she was fine, but she was in pain for a year basically. But she hadn't done any damage. She ended up getting an MRI. And then when the MRI showed that there was nothing wrong, she kind of relaxed. She'd been basically walking around like this for a year, right? Yeah. But then that was like up until about this point last year, I'm going to say. And then since then, it was like over summer when we were away, she was getting anxiety. She wasn't really having panic attacks, but she was just starting to cry for no reason. Oh, yeah. All these things, right? And then she was trying to get an appointment with the doctor, which is a nightmare at the minute. She couldn't get an appointment and all that. And she eventually got through to just have a phone call with, I don't even think it was with the doctor, just with somebody. But she'd read the Davina book and she'd done a bit of research and all of this sort of stuff. So she had all of these symptoms that she'd been tracking, like you've just been saying, tracking in all of these things. And the doctor just said, or whoever she spoke to said straight away, all right, okay, so you know where you're at, which is great. So here's the course of action we'll start to take. This was only a few weeks ago, and we'll see, and then it's trial and error from then on. Yeah. But she's already been feeling better, and obviously it's a process, but that tracking thing was amazing, because if you go to the doctor, all they're going to do, first thing is say, right, what are your symptoms? And if you did say, I don't know, that puts you back 6 months, doesn't it? Before, well, you've got to go track everything. So, yeah.
And I think as well, it's like that. If you're in perimenopause, menopause, I would pretty much say once you're in your 40s, you are perimenopausal, sometimes younger. But if you're not fueling the body with the right stuff, you're not helping the symptoms. I mean, I still have ladies in their 70s that if they eat something like grains or sugar, high sugar stuff, hot flushes in the 70s, you know what I mean? And it's like that. So, and again, occasionally I might have something naughty and I get a migraine. Well, I've made a decision that it's not going to do me any good, you know, but there's going to be a consequence of it. And I just think we're not looking at the food quality in the food industry as a whole that could actually sort out a lot of our health problems. And for a lot of ladies, going low carb, I'm not saying no carb, can actually help you going through menopause. I'm not saying for everybody, but most ladies, they cannot tolerate, we become insulin resistant, and guys do as well, but women more so in their 40s become insulin resistant, and yet we're still slamming a load of carbohydrates and, you know, rice, pasta and stuff like that into our bodies. You know, you've got to hit it from both angles.
I'm similar to you, I think, on that, because carbs just screw me up.
Because you suffer with migraines, don't you?
I do. Okay, I don't get the headache. I just get the aura, and then I just get confused, and then I'm just tired for the rest of the day. I don't get the headaches, but I mean, I had one 2 weeks ago. Wow. In fact, I had two in the same day, and I just had to go to sleep. I just couldn't. I was trying to send an email, and I couldn't find the D key on my keyboard. I was looking along the keyboard like this, and I couldn't find D. It was weird. But years ago, before I knew about all this stuff, you know, I was carb heavy. I was eating lots of rice and pasta and all this, and not saying that's bad or good for you, but for me, I would have, you know, just times of the day when I'd feel dizzy and I'd just have to sit down and eat something. You know, just getting lows. Like, what is that? Hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia, one of the, whichever one it is. But I just feel like I was going to pass out, and I'd be like walking along the street and I just have to sit down. I'd start getting like a cold sweat on and all that. And I don't get that anymore because I know about it. But this is where people don't even realize that, do they? Because Sean actually eats quite high carbs, but she's like that. There's nothing on her. So I think I'd like she must cope with them better than most people. She's got like a runner's physique, say, rather than anything else. But it's like, but this is what we're talking about, isn't it? It's different for everybody as well. So people might hear you and go, right, I'm going to do keto because that's the way to go. And it's like, well, Yeah, but that's like, epilepsy, migraine, stuff like that. Fair enough. It'll be good for that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people it might actually work for, but it's really hard for a lot of people as well.
It's very restrictive. I mean, I don't have a problem going into a restaurant and saying, well, I don't want this, this, and this. Can you take this off it? And they accommodate you. And I think what it's like with a lot of people, and my mum included, she's a migraine sufferer as well. And it's like, I can remember back in the day, she was taking migraine medications. And I'm like, yeah, but you're still getting a migraine. I'm on migraine medication, but you're still getting a migraine. So why are you taking migraine medication? Because it isn't doing anything.
You might as well just eat pound coins.
Yeah, and it's been known since the 1920s with it being for a lot. I'm not saying all, because again, we've got the progesterone thing, but again, think what progesterone does. It alters the blood glucose levels. And they knew that actually controlling insulin and blood glucose controls migraines. Yet we're looking often, and I'm not slagging off the pharmaceutical companies or the food industries, but we're looking for our health in a pill. It doesn't exist. I'm not anti-vaccines, I'm not anti-medications. I'm anti-over-medicating, and when we can sort things out with food, then I would rather take less medication. I never thought I'd end up on HRT, but I'm a nicer person and I can function. I don't want to kill anybody. Well, I either wanted to kill somebody or cry. It was either cry, kill them, then cry, or whichever. But now I'm sort of like, my moods are even. And a guy that you both you interviewed, Simon Lee Marion.
Oh yeah,
I did a session with him. I don't know if either of you have. Oh my God, this guy is a voodoo wizard. He literally, because I've had some bad trauma, and which resulted in serious facial injuries. And I think I got stuck. And he was recommended to me, and I went to him, and oh my God, he was fabulous. And it's like lifted the handbrakes off everything else. I think I've gone as far as I could. And he did this weird SLM, Soma, or whatever, he'll know what it is. And he was amazing. I would highly recommend Simon to anybody. So if you get a chance,
because he was on, wasn't he? I think he was recommended to us by, was it Kirsten Tulloch?
It was Kirsten, because she's not going into it, but she's had some sessions with him as well, I think.
Yeah.
No, I've got his book somewhere, and I'm trying to find it because I tried to read it. I didn't understand it. I was like, what the hell is he talking about?
No, it's not really a because I got his book as well after we had him, and it's a good book, but it's not really like a kind of a layman's user friendly book, is it? It's more like a kind of almost like a textbook for the kind of stuff that he's talking about, but it's not written in a way that's really accessible for the the layperson, I suppose. But no, it's good. So Claire, I just want to ask, actually, just I know I don't know much about sort of female HRT and things, but do you take like testosterone as well now?
I'm going to get my testosterone tested. So I use progesterone. I don't know if anybody watched Panorama the other night on HRT.
I didn't know. I need to watch that.
It's very biased. I think it was very, very one-sided, and I think it was a witch hunt on one person.
I saw this. The lady herself sort of said,
"Is it Louise?" It's not Louise
Newson.
Yeah, because they're saying she's been giving out really bad advice and stuff. I saw that or something.
I think that what they need to remember, there is good and bad, and they're only reporting bad. Again, it doesn't make news, but I think it was very, very one-sided. I was actually pretty appalled by it. There was certain things, maybe she hasn't given bad advice, but again, I think we need to give an unbiased opinion of all the women that she has helped. I personally didn't see her. I went to another private clinic, and the first dose that I went on, oh my God, I felt terrible on. What was I going to do? Go and report them for being terrible? I think it was very, very biased, and I think it was also giving women that fear of, I grew up in the era that HRT was going to give us cancer and stuff like that. And I'm not saying it can be a player in it, but I think we need to look at the bigger picture and the benefits, the cardiovascular benefits of it, the anti-aging benefits of it. I'm so vain. I'm like, you know what I mean? But again, that's the thing of, it's a Professor Benjamin Bickman, what he said was, ladies up until the age of 40, we're pretty much immortal. When you take away our hormones, we're as vulnerable to you guys as for heart disease and strokes and atherosclerosis once we've removed that. So to me, it was a no-brainer to go on to HRT. And so I'm now on patches, and I take progesterone, and because I'm still at the minute having a cycle, I haven't bothered about the testosterone. I mean, I don't mean to, but I don't think I'm struggling with having testosterone.
It was interesting that, because Sean was talking about that. She's on patches as well, and then the progesterone, they were like, "Do you want tablets or the coil?" She was like, "Tablets, please." Like,
yeah.
That's not an option. But with the testosterone, they can't. Do you have to get it yourself? Because there's a thing in this country, you can't get it prescribed or whatever, can you?
You can go privately and get the tests, but it's very, very difficult to source the testosterone. It's a lot of it is who you know some of the time, and they're very, very reluctant to give women testosterone. And so I will get my levels tested, and I know the places to go if I need to get any. And
you've got a dealer, yeah.
I've got a dealer.
We'll talk about that off camera later.
It's a cream. It's
cool, yeah.
Stuff like that.
Because the reason I ask is because one of my members I was talking to the other day, and she has, like, so a lot of my members are women in their 50s, you know, and one of them's just started taking the topical testosterone, you know, in the last few days. No, so I just wanted to see.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how she finds it. And it's like with the progesterone, what we've also got to look at is a lot of ladies are intolerant to it, as what I was. So I went on to 200 over 15 days. I am not kidding you. I bloated 16 pounds in less than 2 weeks. I was like, I was like a little balloon. I was like a water balloon. And so I took it down to 1 a day over 25 days. But actually, sorry, there's too much information here, but I actually use it as a pessary vaginally as well. And that's actually helped. So there you go. Sorry, guys, to make you blush, but yeah.
That's all right. We've talked about this a lot. I saw Helen Hall put something up about that on Instagram as well.
Yeah. Well, I'd actually said to her what I was doing, and she was like, "Really?" And I went, "Yeah," because I'd spoken to a menopause nurse, and it wasn't known over here at the time, because I think I started doing it about 2 years ago. And you know, and it's definitely helped me. And I'm not saying, I'm not giving anybody medical advice. It's just what's worked for me. But yeah, I will get the and actually, because the testosterone, because I haven't had it tested, but I'm using Tonga Alley.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard about this as well. Yeah,
but they're trying to ban it, aren't they? I think Big Pharma's having a bit of a
I've heard about it. Again, I think I've probably heard about it more on like American podcasts and things like that. So kind of a lot of the people I listen to out there. Excellent. So
what supplements do you guys take? Because I'm very much vitamin D now. Well, yeah, I get out in the sun a lot, but vitamin D, I'm very much my electrolytes, because I'm keto. So my magnesium in the evening, and cod liver oil is probably my mainstay. So do you guys take supplements, or?
All I take is creatine every day.
That's my creatine as well.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be for brain health, but I forgot.
I don't. I take. I make
all I have.
I make sauerkraut, and I drink bone broth.
Yeah.
I make up bone broth and just drink it in a cup. And do that like most of the time. And then during the winter, I'll start having vitamin D. But that's it. I've got magnesium capsules, and I had like krill oil stuff and everything, and I was taking them, and I just didn't feel like there was any. I didn't feel any different or any benefit. I used to have gut problems though, and I got that sorted because I had low good bacteria, So I couldn't handle fiber because fiber feeds good bacteria apparently, and then good bacteria grows, and then you can handle, and then it's a process. But so I couldn't handle fiber very well, and then I got that tested, and it was low good bacteria. So I was on I was on a silly amount of capsules and all sorts to get that up, and I was taking this thing, Restore Flora it was called, which creates spores within your gut to create the good bacteria. But there was at one point, because I was like, it was basically like, right, let's just feed you with this stuff, get it going over a period of like 3 months, and then that's why I have sauerkraut as well, because you know all the probiotics and all that sort of stuff. But the lady who had me doing it, I was at one point I was on like 21 capsules on every morning, only for like about 2 weeks. But in the morning I was just like having so much water. I was like, right, breakfast now. I was so full. It was unbelievable.
I think that's the thing, that we're looking for the quick fixes. And, you know, you've got to be consistent, and it's never too late to start for ladies or gentlemen weight training. And I think, I've written several, I've got a program called Body 20. It's literally 20 minutes a day, 6 days a week. You know, and if you want to add in a bit more, you can add in a little bit more. And it's that simple. It's an upper body, lower body. And then you can just change it round, you know, a variation, and it's a variation of a squat. You know, it can be not a pistol squat. I hate them. But, you know, if you wanted to, you could do a pistol squat. You can do a Bulgarian squat, front squat, back squat, goblet squat, you know, and things like that. And there's so much variation that, and we're looking at making things complicated, and it's not. It really isn't, you know. And I don't like complicated because I'm a simple person.
Yeah.
I
think that's right. Like I say, I have creatine every morning when I wake up, and I have lots of black coffee, and that's kind of it really.
James is looking massive, by the way, because I shared a room with him a couple of weeks ago, and it was like, bloody hell, you've grown. And he was like, and then he was on the creatine, and I was like, well, I need some of
that. I've got to say, it is very good. I've actually got my mum on it now as well. I'm sure she thinks I'm feeding her drugs.
Because they're so cheap as well, but there's so much now in terms of research, isn't there, around, like you say, muscle, bone, but brain health as well, and cognition, and all the rest of it. So, and it's so cheap and you take like 5 grams a day or whatever, and you know, just mix it with some water, and it's so easy. No, it's great. What I was going to ask, Claire, before we kind of wrap up, because it's been great talking to you again, and we are going to touch base again with Helen Hall as well, because we had her on quite a while ago. We mentioned Helen on this podcast, obviously, and it's funny. I messaged her yesterday, and I've sent her something today. Is she going to be with you for the SFG one in a couple of weeks?
Yes, she's there for the SFG one. I can't remember if she's going to be there at the SFL. She might be.
That's the following weekend, isn't it?
Yeah. We're literally back to back and things like that.
So in terms of if you were going to kind of talk broadly, like you say, we need to keep things simple for most people, including for ourselves. We try and keep things as simple as possible. If someone is a female in their 50s, say, between 45 plus, and they don't currently do any sort of strength training at all, what would you, or they do it, or they're one of these people that you mentioned goes into the gym and just kind of has a little look around and does a bit here and a bit there, but without any real structure. If you were to give kind of like a template of some basic things that would be great for women in their 40s and 50s to do with strength training, what kind of things would you recommend to women to keep it as basic as possible?
I think a lot of women feel very conscious going into the gym, so they can train at home with a kettlebell, and it is so simple. I would say a variation, depending on where you are, obviously, from a hip hinge, deadlift, swing of a variation. If mobility and everything is appropriate, a variation of a press. And again, the kettlebell is far kinder, and it's single arm, so we've got more movement, and it's kinder to the shoulders. A variation of the get up, and I think the get up people. So, what's the biggest fear as we get older? That we can't get up off the floor. So, you know, to do things like that, we get, you know, a lot of people don't like the get up because it flags up so many asymmetries and mobility, stability issues. But I think anybody, I don't care whether you're a bodybuilder or what, I think it's really, really valuable. I'm very much with the deadlift, maintain the squat, work the deadlift if you've got any knee issues. But as we all know, squats aren't bad for the knees, bad squats are bad for the knees. And I think what we need to do is what people don't focus on is technique. I don't care what you're doing if you're doing it with bad form, because it will have a impact at some point. So I would say a variation of a push pull, push pull, hinge, squat, and a rotation, which is the get up, or windmills and things like that, but always working on the mobility. And if you're weight loss, stop running. Just go for a walk. Running, you need to be strong, and you need a coach. It might be the most natural thing in the world, but most of the time, people are shuffling on the pavement, and it's just going to be an injury. You don't lose weight, and and I'm not anti-running. I'm a pretty good runner when when somebody's trying to nick my steak and I chase them off.
I was going to say, in my experience, you do a lot of running, you just get hungry. Just eat more. I used to.
We had, didn't we? We had Aidan O'Flaherty on a few weeks, the Irish physio, who's running and stuff like that, which is great. Okay, and yeah, because you do a lot of. You mentioned walking just then. That's something that you do a lot of. I see every day. You're out. You've obviously got a dog as well.
I have a Coco. You can meet her. Come on then. Here's Coco.
Look at that.
There's Coco.
She's been sat there dying to jump up here. And I thought it looks unprofessional, but she's my baby. I get out every day. And again, I think it's that thing of you don't have to be going power walking, just getting out and moving. And I try not to, I mean, I'm sat down now, but I try not to sit down too much in the day as well. And I think it's that, one, it's free. Two, you get out into nature or wherever and getting fresh air. And I think people just moving, you know, it's I think it's Mike Dolce, don't know if you follow him.
Yeah.
And he's very much into the low intensity, steady state cardio and the NEAT. I mean, it's not really NEAT, it's not, you know, because you're exercising, but it's moving. And that's actually, sorry, I do tend to skip along. What women do and what it's actually being found in research is as we get into perimenopause, our NEAT stops. So like I talk with my hands all the time, which is NEAT. We actually slow down. We don't do as much as that, apparently. There you go. So you're not burning as many calories. So when you're at rest, I'm not into calorie counting anyway. I'm into protein counting.
Yeah. No, that's great. So just for listeners, that's NEAT. That's NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That's basically just incidental moving that you do without thought. So like Claire did, fidgeting, nodding, tapping your foot, you know, just fidgeting around, moving around the house, just doing tasks, but you're not doing them with the thought of I'm doing this for exercise. So going out for a walk intentionally is not NEAT, like Claire just mentioned, because you're going out for a walk intentionally. But it is that kind of activity, which is great.
It is a neat idea.
It is a neat idea. Well done, mate. Yeah, brilliant.
And Coco always appreciates a walk in the morning and the evening. You know, 5 o'clock in the morning, I get a paw on the back of my head, and it's like, you're getting up.
That's what I'd say. Just get a dog to anyone, because you've got to go for a walk, because it's a nightmare if you don't. So
but don't get if you wear black like I do a lot, don't get a white dog. What was I thinking? Lint rollers in she's beautiful. I have lint rollers everywhere.
Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah.
Excellent. So Claire, just as we wrap up, if people want, that's been really interesting, and it's been, like I say, when we came on an hour ago, you know, I had a couple of things I kind of thought would be, you know, we could talk about, but we've gone into some things in a lot more depth than I thought, which is fantastic. And we've gone in a few other avenues as well. If people do want to follow you, to just follow your own training, and also so they can find out about, you know, where you're doing workshops, where your certifications are, that sort of thing. What's the best way? Is it to follow you personally, or is it to follow Strongfirst GB? Or
follow me personally, because everything goes on there on my other page, Body by Booth. And and I put everything out on there. And I'm going to put a post up if anybody wants to join my newsletter for my 100 swings a day. So on Instagram, I'm Clarella Booth. So that's Claire with an Ella. And then there's Body by Booth, and then Claire Booth on Facebook. So
Excellent.
yeah.
And also Strongfirst GB, isn't it, as well?
Strongfirst GB. And that's I teach all the workshops throughout the country. And I think that people, for £80, you are getting 4 hours of coaching, and you'll get a PDF, and you get videos. And you don't just turn up and then I don't contact you anymore. If you want help and that, I'm always available. And and I've got a website, www.bodyology.co.uk, and I need to update the photos because I looked young then.
You still look young. You look fantastic. Hear me?
Oh, you silver tongue devil.
Right, excellent. So definitely give Claire a follow on Instagram, on Facebook, like she said, website as well. Loads of stuff, and the Strongfirst, as Claire mentioned, the bodyweight certification is a great place to start on how to generate whole body tension and to learn to master your own body weight, which then when you come to use or move external loads like kettlebells or barbells or anything, when you really know how to get yourself tight and you've got that body awareness, that then really carries over. And the bodyweight certification next year is in May, and that's going to be held at Unique Results in Chelmsford, with Pavel Macek, who we just mentioned as well. Great. Anything as we wrap up, Pete?
Well, I did have a thought when we were talking about red light therapy.
Don't say no, hold that thought, Pete. Hold that
for the
thought.
young lads listening, that's not nipping over to Amsterdam for the weekend. That is
hold that thought, Pete. Right, okay. So the next couple of weeks, we've got next week we've got Sue Collins with us, who is a retired lady now, a teacher who was a 2-time Commonwealth medalist, but Commonwealth Games athlete from back in the day when she was young. She's a really interesting lady. She's going to come on. And the week after that, we've got Steve Bush coming back on, who was a guest we've had previously, who's going to be catching up with us as well. Do give Claire a follow. Do give Strongfirst GB a follow. Please do like, share, subscribe, leave a review if you're watching or listening on a platform that allows you to do so, especially leave us reviews on Apple Podcasts is where we're trying to get our reviews. And if you don't already subscribe to our YouTube channel, do that as well, please. Thank you so much, Claire, for joining us again.
Thank you, gentlemen. A pleasure as always to see you.
And hopefully we won't leave it another 3.5 years. We'll speak to you before then.
I'll see you next weekend.
Yeah, you'll see me next weekend. Thank you, Mr. Peter Lance.
You're welcome.
He's nodding. He's saying it. What was it last when we had Claire? Was it Claire? Yeah. I said, bye, Claire, bye, Pete, and I said they both nodded. Right.
He nodded, so I nodded. I just thought,
We will be back next week for episode 218 with Sue Collins. We will see you then. Bye-bye.